Alright, we are continuing our week of the 2.31 Cyberpunk update. We've got a 4K test right here with the 5080 paired with the 7800 X3D. So we're just going to run through it like we normally do, starting on low and just keep working our way up until it looks like we might need some upscaling. So right here at 4K, we are at 115 FPS. And again, no upscaling, no frame generation, nothing like that. So let's just keep rolling through it and jump up to that very next level. Alright, so we're just going to come into here, go to settings, and come down here and make sure that our reflex with boost is enabled. We need to make sure we take care of that. Highly recommend using it. And yeah, we're just going to go up to that next level, which is medium. Turn all this stuff off, come down here, turn that off, turn this off, turn that off, and everything looks good. Alright, so we're just going to jump back into it. And we are rocking and rolling here. We are at 90 FPS on medium. 4K, no upscaling. So let's just keep on rolling through it. Got about 100 FPS here, so we're looking pretty good. Now on 4K, you can really implement some DLSS. You can go up to performance, and it still holds up looking just fine. That's largely because the performance DLSS is still using full HD as that base resolution. So the details and stuff don't get lost near as much as, say, 1440p or 1080p. So that's kind of an advantage that we'll have with 4K. So let's see, about 90, 93 FPS. All right, so let's just keep on rolling through it and jump into that next level. So we're going to go to video, actually go to graphics. I lied. All right, so there we go. Go up to high and kick all that off. So I'm going to come down here and take a look at it, turn all this stuff off. It likes to really push a lot of these settings on you. Alright, so that still gives us on high 84 FPS, 81, still looking good, no need to upscale yet. This game runs just fine at 80 FPS, that's no big deal. Alright, so let me just jump around here and keep on rolling. Let's go to this roundabout to see what we can expect around kind of the worst part of this area. Yeah, it drops down about 73 was the lowest. But then it picks right back up when you finish and comes right back out on top around 80. Alright, so let's just keep rolling through it and go to that ultra preset. Again, this is no ray tracing yet, so we're still not doing anything super fancy at the moment. We're just trying to see where that fall off is when we start to need upscaling. So let's just keep on going around here. So this looks like ultra gives you about 57 FPS on this back stretch, and this is typically the better part of this area. So if we're just around 60 back here, that tells me that we're probably going to have to upscale to keep it reliably above 60 at this point. So ultra looks like the fall off before we even do any upscaling or ray tracing. But let's jump into it and let's do a little bit of quality upscaling. Nothing too bad at all. This is going to be just fine. So we're going to leave it on ultra, which is what we had. Okay, so that picks us back up to about 78, 80 FPS here with that quality enabled. So everything does look pretty good. Roundabout here should dip down, yeah, in the 70s. That's pretty promising. So we're going to look okay. So I'm just going to keep on going around and make my lap here before I do any other adjustments, give you guys a nice look at things. So yeah, no ray tracing yet. That will start to look beautiful. That pink light from that sign is one of my favorite spots in the game. Go ahead and drop that camera angle down, go into Batman mode. Looks like the tumbler, pretty sweet. Alright, yeah, let's keep on going around here. 86 FPS, still looking great. Whoa, I just hit that weird. Alright, there we go. First wreck of the video. Let's come around here. Let's wreck into that guy. Excuse me, just coming through. All right, so yeah, we're at 76 FPS here. Let's go ahead and kick on some ray tracing, and let's just go up, kick on past all that stuff. So yeah, we're still going to utilize quality. So we're on that first level of ray tracing, which just introduces ray trace local shadows. This is super easy to run. I don't expect any sort of like really bad performance at all. It's kind of like super light ray tracing, but it does make things a little bit more contrasty, which is always nice. It does tend to look a little bit better without a huge performance hit. So we're still above 60, even around this roundabout, which is kind of like the hardest area to run. Still no pretty reflections yet, but we're starting to get a little bit more depth to the image with those shadows looking good. So just going to keep on rolling through here. and make our way back up this hill and hit this back stretch, and then I'll make those adjustments for you guys just to go up a little bit more on that ray tracing. All right, go into Batman mode. There we go, y'all. There we go. All right, this is a cool camera angle. All right, so yeah, it usually makes me wreck though, which is not highly recommended, but you know, for a video like this, I like to make it look cool. All right, anyway, so yeah, let's jump over into the very next setting and let's see what we need to do here. So we're on transformer. Let's go up to the ray tracing medium and go back to quality, leave everything else the same. That introduces sun shadows and brings in all this stuff we need to turn off, of course. But yeah, nothing too crazy here either. This will have a little bit of a hit, but it's not path tracing for sure. Path tracing is extremely intensive, but it looks like we're going to have to do a little bit of upscaling once we go up to that medium ray tracing. And you know, that's okay because we're at 4K, and once you're at 4K, you can really utilize some pretty aggressive upscaling without losing too much image quality. Again, that base resolution is nice and high whenever you're on 4K, whenever you're doing any upscaling. So that is one benefit of 4K, is you can really pump up the upscaling and get a nice fluid experience without a huge visual hit. So let's just keep going. All right, so let's jump over and go to that balance setting just to kind of like smooth this out and see what it takes to get it back over 60. All right, so that did it right around 67, 64. So this looks pretty good. Now once we go up to that very next level with the reflections, I'm suspecting we're going to have to use some performance upscaling just to make sure that we aren't really getting hit hard. But yeah, that lighting is starting to look really nice, especially in this area at night. I love this area at night. It's one of my favorite locations to enjoy some ray tracing. All right, so let's just keep on rolling through here. Looking like 66, 70 even on the back stretch. All right, let's slow it down, make this turn, try not to hit anyone. All right, so I'm going to jump into it and go up to that very next level, which would be ultra ray tracing. So this is ultra ray tracing, not path tracing yet. I'm going to go back to balance since we needed it last time. Safe to assume we'll need it this time. And that does all this stuff. So it brings in your ray trace reflections. Now we'll test this later. I'm going to test it on ultra, but your ray trace lighting can go up to psycho if you want to, but we're going to do ultra first. Turn all this stuff off and apply it. All right, so let's see where we're at. Let's see what ultra ray tracing gives us with a balanced DLSS setting. Still above 60 for the most part, so this wouldn't be a bad location to consider doing some frame generation from if you don't really care too much about going all the way up to that path tracing, because honestly, ray tracing with reflections looks amazing. This sign specifically looks just so good. Look at that pink lighting all over the ground. It looks so nice. Ray tracing is just, there's no comparison when it comes to how a game transforms with ray tracing like Cyberpunk does. It's just crazy. Looks like a whole new generation of game. All right, so yeah, let's just keep on rolling through here. Get on out the way, folks. Let's go. All right, so we're still around 60 back here, so that's a good sign. I'm going to kick it up to that psycho lighting. So not path tracing. I'm just going to toggle that psycho lighting up right here, and that will push it all the way up to the highest level of ray tracing that you can possibly run, and you are still enjoying it with balanced DLSS, and you're hanging right around 60, so this wouldn't be a bad place to do some frame generation either. We'll test it out once we get to that frame generation portion of the test. I usually save that to the end, but yeah, we're still around 60, no problem here with that psycho ray trace lighting. And everything looks really good. You know, it's nice and promising. Now I'm going to kick it over to the path tracing setting, and this will significantly drop our performance. So I'm going to do that. Now granted, it grays out ray tracing because path tracing is like the ultimate form of all ray tracing. So ray reconstruction is on, everything looks good here. Everything stayed the same here, so all we really did was just enable path tracing. We're going to leave it on balanced just to see what it does. It's gonna tank a little bit though. I mean, we're still in the 40s though, so hopefully performance DLSS will get us back up close to 60, and then we'll see what we can do as far as frame generation goes at that point. But we just really want to make sure we get around 60, as close as we can to it, before we kick on that frame gen. because we don't want our PCL getting way too high. And speaking of PCL, I need to bring that in. I'll be right back. All right, we've got our PCL activated now. So we are around 51 milliseconds here, which is largely due to running that reflex plus boost because we're at 43 FPS, but our PCL is still nice and responsive. So that technology does work pretty darn well. We are looking really good though. So path tracing on 4K with balanced, I'm going to go up to performance. That's just something that you're going to have to accept, which is fine. I'm going to do a little bit of sharpening up to 0.2. You got to be careful with your sharpening because once you start to sharpen too much, you can get some exaggerated ghosting whenever you're using frame generation, but we're not doing frame gen right now. We're just seeing what it takes to kind of get us there. So performance DLSS doesn't quite get us to 60. So we're going to have to probably make some concessions, although it's worth noting that this is incredibly playable. There's nothing wrong with this at all. I could totally play this title just like this, 50 FPS with a PCL of about 43 milliseconds. This is not a twitchy title. It doesn't have any sort of like major requirement for that. So, you know, this is probably how I would play it with some frame gen, to be honest. So I'm going to kick on some frame gen and probably go back down in our settings a little bit and run through some of these last ray tracing settings with that frame gen enabled. So I'll do that now and do a restart and be right back. All right, so here we are back in it with some frame gen enabled. I've got the ultra ray tracing turned on with the psycho lighting, and that gives us a PCL of 53 milliseconds, which is extremely playable. And we have 163, 162 FPS. Let's come in here and just see these settings. Just going to check it out with you guys just to make sure you see what I see. All right, so we don't want 4X. That's too much right now. Let's go to 2X and let's see what quality does. We're going to turn on ray reconstruction. All right, so everything looks good. Psycho is enabled. All this stuff down here is turned. Let me turn all this off. It just makes the image look better in my opinion. All right, so yeah, we've got everything set to ultra ray tracing with psycho lighting. FrameGen 2X ray reconstruction is enabled, and we are looking pretty good. We're at 90, 88 FPS with a PCL of 55 milliseconds. And yeah, we're just going to keep on rolling through here just to see what all we can expect. But it really does look pretty good. I mean, the responsiveness is typically what you start to worry about whenever you are frame generating, but it's fine. The reflex boost is doing a really good job keeping our PCL nice and low, as well as the frame generation itself has a nice base frame rate to frame generate from, so we don't have big gaps in our interpolation between real frames with fake frames, so it all feels really smooth. All that to say is that it feels good. All right, so let's just jump into here and go into settings. So that was on quality. Let's go up to balanced and see what we can expect here. Again, this is just kind of a run through of what we can expect on a lot of different settings with that frame gen enabled. Once you get to the setting we just had, when it's playing just fine, really the only reason to continue to go up in your upscaling is just to get your PCL down, because it looks good, and you know the frames are high enough for a game like this where you really wouldn't need to visually degrade your image for more frames. But if your PCL is bothering you, you can do that as well. So this is balanced, and it did lower our PCL. We're down in the 40s now. But this game does look pretty good. Looks insanely good on quality. It still looks just fine on performance at 4K as well. So it's just going to keep on going through here, and let's jump it down to that performance level just to get one good look. But yeah, there's no real need to use anything other than 2X. The more frames you generate, the more it's going to hurt your PCL anyway. So you might as well just use only what you need and not just totally overdo it. But yeah, we are looking really good. VRAM allocations at 13.1. So we got 16 on this card. Man, that lighting is good. 16 on this card, so we should be fine in the VRAM department. Yeah, so this is looking nice. All right, so let's just come around here. All right, 131, 128 back here. Let's just jump over to path tracing and see what we can expect there. So let's go all the way back up. So this is ray tracing overdrive. We're going to check it out on quality with a 2X frame gen and just kind of run through what we did just a minute ago on regular ray tracing. This is the path tracing, so ray tracing is disabled. All right, so everything looks good. Path tracing is on, 2x frame gen, ray reconstruction is on, a little bit of sharpening quality, and everything looks good. All right, so let's jump back into it. And that gives us just under 60. Path tracing is no freaking joke. Our PCL isn't terrible. Our PCL is 71 milliseconds, and like I said, with a controller, that's not going to be as noticeable as mouse and keyboard. This is not a super flicky, super like responsiveness requiring game. Everything feels fine, honestly, on a controller. If your scenario is a controller with like a 4K television or something like that, you're fine. You're well over 60 FPS, which is what most TVs run at anyway. And your PCL is nice and responsive with that boost enabled. But look at that gorgeous lighting, man, so nice. Man, just this game is so pretty. 5 years old, and it's still one of the prettiest games ever made. All right, so what I would probably do now is just see how it looks with a little bit more upscaling, just again to get that PCL down a little bit more. And that gives you a PCL, it kind of takes it a minute to catch up. So that PCL is right at 58 milliseconds with a 77 FPS down there on your frames. You know, we're not using too much VRAM. We're allocating 14.3, but we're only using 10.9. So we're fine on VRAM. The more you frame generate, the more VRAM it likes to eat up. So that's why you're seeing that number go up a little bit. But yeah, everything looks pretty good here. 74 FPS. Now, I would take it up to performance just to get that PCL down a little bit more. If that's your jam, you can certainly do that. So that gives you a PCL of, give it a minute, 50. Right at 50, which is where you want to be. You know, I mean, that's a nice responsive frame rate, or PCL, I mean. But if you are on a controller, really going up to like 0.8 or, well, 80 milliseconds really is fine. I mean, anything between 50 milliseconds and 80 milliseconds on a controller is more than okay for a game that is not competitive or twitchy like this one. So really all these settings are viable. They work just fine. And, you know, path tracing is not anything to joke around about. This is definitely a hard setting to run. This game is doing really well, that I've noticed with these updates, especially on the NVIDIA side. I've had some lockups when it comes to path tracing on the AMD cards, the 9070 XT and the 9060 XT. So if you're wanting to do path tracing specifically, I would still recommend an NVIDIA card. Hopefully one day that will not be the case, and we'll get Redstone and all this like path tracing stuff will be a thing of the past when it comes to AMD. But until then, you know, you can't count on everything. But until then, I would stick with NVIDIA if you wanted to explore path tracing, just from a stability standpoint, not necessarily a horsepower standpoint. They just tend to be more stable in this title. And this is like the, you know, path tracing ultimate test right here. I mean, this game is just way up there when it comes to path tracing. Look at that. God, it's so pretty. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty good here. Now, if you really wanted to check it out on maybe 4X, we can check that out real quick. I'll go up to 4X, then maybe just drop it down to quality and run through these one more time for you guys. So yeah, that gives you 126 FPS. PCL went up a little bit, still around 78 though, so it's still under that 80 milliseconds for, you know, like controller play, which feels fine. I wouldn't want to play on 80 milliseconds with mouse and keyboard, but on a controller, it's not a big deal at all. It feels perfectly responsive. All right, so let's just keep on rolling through here. I'm going to kick it over one more time to balanced, then we'll go to performance, then we'll call it a day. So let's just keep on going through balanced. So this looks like 135 FPS, gave us a nice break on our PCL. We're at 62 milliseconds. This might be the setting right here. I mean, 62 milliseconds, especially on a controller, ain't bad at all for 140 frames, full path tracing, balanced DLSS on 4K. I'll take that any day. This looks really good. That tiny bit of sharpening also helps matters out. So you could go a little higher on that if you wanted to, but right now I think 0.2 still looks really nice. All right, so let's just keep on going. One more thing to get through. Let's go to that performance. This will be the most performant version of path tracing without going to ultra performance, which is kind of, it looks kind of rough. So I don't generally test that unless I just absolutely have to. But yeah, 163 FPS here, performance DLSS. Remember that NVIDIA plus Boost is really taking care of all that PCL for us. So PCL is nice and low. It's around low 60s to mid 50s, and you're able to run 4K path tracing. I mean, there's just nothing better. Yeah, 4X frame gen is doing all the heavy lifting as far as the image quality goes. No ghosting. I haven't noticed anything, so that's usually a question that I have. Maybe if I don't wreck at the end, that'll be a miracle. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. If you're brand new here, please consider subscribing if you're not new, and we will see you all in the very next video. Peace.